It is exactly 3 minutes past the hour 6. And with 84 days to election 2024, welcome to your election hub. In the next few minutes, maybe seconds, the Electoral Commission's deadline for submitting nomination forms for both the presidential and parliamentary election comes to an end. Thankfully, my guest tonight on the campaign trail met this deadline some few minutes ago. And hopefully, he will be on the ballots for the December polls. And hopefully again, he will be successful in his bid to break the NPP NDC duopoly and be sworn in as the president of Ghana come January 7, 2025. My guest is confident of his chances this year. A new face. My guest on the campaign trail, Dr. Samuel Ankrah, is an investments banker, a global business strategist, and a development economist with more than 20 years experience and now venturing into politics. Remember that we are live on Facebook on Star 103.5 FM. And as always, we love to get interactive, so you can send us your WhatsApp messages on 055 288 0216. Again, it's 055 288 0216. This is your campaign trail. My guest is already seated, and so let's just delve straight into the conversation. Doc, thank you very much for your time. It's an absolute pleasure meeting you for the first time.
Thanks for having me, Tutuwaa, and your team.
Absolutely.
I am very most grateful. And coming straight from EC's office to your studios, I think is refreshing.
Absolutely.
Thanks for having me.
But how was the process in filing your nomination forms?
Well, to be honest, the requirement is very, very cumbersome. And sometimes you sit back and judge why all these hassle. But I believe the Electoral Commission and people that put this together know exactly what they're looking for. But it's a very humbling experience also.
Okay.
It took me around the country to see firsthand experiences and challenges that our country is going through. And the state of our country is dire.
Do you agree with those who say that the filing process should be done digitally moving forward?
21st century, 2024, everything is digital. In England, in Australia, in all parts of the world, just go in there, download it, and then fill up and send it. It's as simple as that. Why do we make things so complicated for ourselves? And why all these duplication? You have to quadruplicate more than 250 pages of document, four different sets, and all these things. I think, look, the world is moving on, and we cannot sit down using analog to solve our digital problems.
Okay, I see. As I told my listeners earlier, you have done investment banking for over 20 years. I can confidently call you an economist. Why politics?
Well, I am an economist. I'm a development economist. Politics, because again, I believe the time is now where people with the know-how have to get into the fray and help solve Ghana's problem. We can't continue like this as a country. Things are not being done properly. Our systems have become dysfunctional. The world around us is moving on. Epitomizing to what I just said about using analog to solve digital problems, cut across every spectrum of our industry or society. We're still too backwards when the world is moving on. So I believe that Ghana, with all the resources we have as a country, both human and natural resources, we shouldn't be the state that we're in.
Okay.
And the challenge that we're facing has nothing to do with anything. It's leadership. Greg Mills wrote a book, and I don't know if you read about it, Why Africa is Poor. And it was very clearly stated, Africa is poor not because of aid. Africa is poor not because of slave trade or colonization. Africa is poor because we choose the wrong leaders. And I'm speaking to young people and anybody that hears my voice today.
Okay.
If indeed you are looking for politics to change your living conditions, if you're looking to have a better standard of living, if you want to get employed, if you want to have an affordable country to live in, then think about what you do at the ballot box, because it starts from there.
Okay. Talking about digitalization, then you absolutely agree with Dr. Bawumia's agenda, don't you?
Absolutely. I mean, listen, it's way overdue. And again, it's not something even has to be called a policy or an agenda to follow. Like I said, the world is around that is moving on. We can't be backwards. We have to come abreast of the system.
Absolutely.
We're talking about a society where people are online applying to be presidential candidates, and then you have yours here where we are queuing, making photocopying of about 800,000 pages just to supply to somebody. Again, this is not the right way to do things. We need to respect time. We need to have value on time, and we need, as a country, to be able to use the digital technology, which has developed various economies around the world, to develop our country. And this is what I think is the right thing to do, and I support the Vice President, although there might be certain applications or systems of implementation that I would not embrace. However, the idea that Ghana has reached a stage in our economy or in our lifestyle as a country to move into digitization is so overdue.
Briefly, was your time wasted at the Electoral Commission's office?
I wouldn't say it's time wasted. I would just say these are long hours spent to get something that could have been done quite quickly.
Okay. Now, let me come and ask you. You have said a lot of things. I mean, I've monitored a couple of interviews you've granted. You talked about, for instance, using just 20 ministers to run a country.
Absolutely. Again, these are some of the things I've been talking about.
Is it feasible?
Absolutely feasible. You're looking at Norway, GDP of 650 billion, just 17 ministers. You're looking at Netherlands, a GDP of over 700 billion, just 18 ministers. You are looking at a country like Germany, the number of ministers they have. Look at England, a population of 65 million with a GDP of 1.1 trillion, has only 350,000 government workers on their payroll. Ghana, a small country as we are, with a population of about 32 million, with GDP of only 79 billion, is run by 125 ministers and over 1 million government workers on our payroll. How is that sustainable? These are many myriads of issues is what have dragged us back, and we're not seeing development.
But you understand that in a country like Ghana, there is the need for every region to have a minister. There are 16 regions already. The remaining 4, what portfolios will they be occupying? I'm interested.
Scrap the regional ministers. There's no need for regional ministers. We want to send governance into the grassroots. We're going to elect DCEs. We'll make sure chiefs are part of the local assemblies. They sit in there and chair, so that the decision-making and governance would reach the grounds. We don't want to sit up here and be doing things in Ankrah and Kumasi and the centers when our villages and our towns have been left idle. So our politics is going to go down to the grassroots. We will elect DCEs that would have a liaison with the local government and rural development, and that's it. No regional minister. And that is how we intend to develop this nation. Again, Ghana is a unique country. Every district has a unique selling point. We want to harness on these resources. We want to make sure that we raise local taxes to develop local areas, the roads, the water system, the electricity, the education, the schools. These are critical things that need to be addressed at the local level, instead of centralizing a country like Ghana and not having the right development across the length and breadth of the nation.
So you don't think that the regional ministers are necessary?
Absolutely unnecessary.
You'd rather choose
Job for the boys.
DCs over original ministers.
Elect DCs, let them represent their locals, let the DCs liaise with one local minister and rural development. No regional minister in our governance. We want to cut the cost. You see, it's become a job for the boys. People will invest their resources, win elections, and they share the booty among themselves.
Which region in this country are you from?
Well, I'm from two regions. I'm from Greater Accra. I'm from Ashanti region as well. I'm Ashanti.
So Simon doesn't have to be there. Per what you're saying, we don't need somebody like a Simon Osei-Mensah.
Absolutely unnecessary.
We don't need the Greater Accra regional minister.
What's his name?
The new one.
Okay.
Titus Glover.
Absolutely. So unnecessary. Job for the boys. Cut it out. Cut the size of government. Cut the waste. Invest the money into resource-centered programs that would benefit Ghanaians. Create jobs for our young people. This is what Ankrah is looking for. And this is what the Alpha movement want to present to this nation.
Okay. And since you started preaching this to the populace, how have they received it?
Well, I mean, the response has been tremendous. The unfortunate thing is that airwaves and the radio stations and the TV stations are still singing MPP, NDC stories. However, if you go on the ground, it's a different story.
Okay. I'll come to where the radio stations and TV stations are singing the duopoly, as you like to put it. But I want to have a breakdown of the ministerial portfolios that you would create and those that you would scrap.
Well, again, all these are going to be... I intended to launch the manifesto on the 21st of this month. However, I anticipate I've been told there's a scheduled, what do you call it? Is it Occupy Ghana or Occupy Jolobi House again coming on that day? So we may have to change it. But I am going to schedule a date for the launch of our manifesto. We will call every press house in this country to sit with us, understand every policy and the rationale behind why we want to do that policy, so that Ghanaians would understand exactly how we're going to cut costs, how we're going to save money, how we're going to invest into the employment that we want to create, the private sector that we want to grow, the education that we want to take to a different level. All these things are going to be explained in verbatim. This is not a usual promises upon promises as usual, where people just say things they don't do. We want to bring real, tangible results. I come from an investment banking background. To do any project, there has to be serious studied feasibility from end to end, bulletproof, before you can even get any bank to look at it. This is the kind of governance, this is the style of governance that Sam Ankrah is promising Ghanaians given opportunity.
Okay. Sam, it is about just... approximately 80 days to the major election. You are yet to launch your manifesto. Are you ready for this?
Well, I mean, again, first of all, 80 days in politics means a lot. But then again, my manifesto virtually has been discussed from 2 years ago. Again, it's also on our website, which is well advertised. But I'm talking about official launch where I want to educate Ghanaians about the content of what we intend to do and how we intend to develop and grow this country. Talking about 80 days, we saw what happened in Senegal. Just about a month to an election, the whole thing turned around. Prior to that, the prime minister who lost was about 65%, way above everybody. But just within 4 weeks to the election, the whole thing's turned around. Politics means something different. I believe when we launch our manifesto, when we speak to the hearts and minds of Ghanaians to understand exactly what we are coming to do, not just the promises, but breaking it down to day-to-day activity of exactly how we intend to achieve those things that we are promising Ghanaians, I believe that is going to create a wave. That is going to build a momentum, and our people will start looking at things differently. The status quo in 2024 is no more an option.
Okay. Days before we heard that you were going to be gracing our studios, my team members went on the ground to speak to people if they knew Sam Ankrah. A lot of people say that, well, we've heard the name, but we don't think he's a groundsman. He's not a grassroots person. How do you react to that?
Well, it's a difficult thing to become a groundsman from day one, especially when you are new to politics. I am not a politician, and I'm just jumping on the situation because I think I have what it takes to turn this country around. But I require or I need it. It would be a collaborative effort with people like yourself, with stations like Star FM and GH1 and all the very noble stations across, to be able to propagate the gospel of Sam Ankrah and the Alpha movement to Ghanaians. When you do that, the information will stick down to the bottom. Again, we are picking youth leaders across the length and breadth of the country, and we're believing that when they go out there and we launch them to go and speak to Ghanaians, they will be able to win the hearts and minds of Ghanaians. But I must admit, it's not going to be easy. It's a Herculean task. But ask your question. Think about it. Would you want to live in these conditions, or you want something better?
Okay.
And if you want something better, then don't vote for NDC or MPP.
Okay. You don't think that you're running out of time?
Well, to be honest, the time is quite important, but I believe that we still have a lot more time to turn things around. So far, I mean, if you ask people who is going to win the elections or who are they voting for, they'll tell you they haven't decided. Usually, around this period, there's a clear-cut winner. But for this particular elections, you can't see. Everybody is still not convinced. So it requires us to now come out to show them exactly what we intend to do, who we are, the number of people that are following us. Then they will understand. By the way, I have a vice president who is a woman as well. So just for your information. And we'll be announcing that on the day of the launch of the manifesto.
We can't get her name now?
Do I have to disclose it?
We would be happy to get that.
To announce it on your station.
Absolutely.
Wow. Should I?
Yes,
Or
please
should I?
do.
Should I or shouldn't I?
You should.
Maybe let's see how it goes in the let's see
Well,
how it goes.
you rightly said you'd need institutions like ours to get the word out there to the people.
Okay, so
it would be nice to have her name.
So then, what do you call it? Your station, which is Star FM, might be the first to hear.
Well,
advice.
I don't think it might.
Okay.
It will be the first.
So we have Na Adaku Adugoda as my running
Na
mate.
Adaku
Adugoda as my running mate.
Oh, what informed your choice of running mates?
Well, first of all, I wanted a gender balance. I wanted a woman leader. I wanted a woman advocate.
Okay.
I mean, she's a gender advocate, I'm sure you're aware, and also youth advocate. She's a strategist. She's a powerful strategist and a businesswoman who understands exactly how the world is run. With these qualities, you can't get anything. And looking across the spectrum of vice candidates that have been chosen, I think she stands out.
Right. Thank you very much for that exclusive there. But what is the alternative for force for action?
Afa. December by this time, Nafa.
I see. So what does AFA stand for? What is your political ideology?
We wouldn't say we're center right or center left or whatever. We're just saying, look, we need a united front to build this nation. No country has been built at the back of ideology. If you look at the countries like even America, they came together collectively, bring their resources together, develop plans and strategy, and that has stood the test of time. Similar to China, similar to England. We are saying we need a united front, independent-minded people, devoid of political colors or symbols or ideology. Come together, let's bring our know-how, technical expertise, let's bring our skill, and let's help build this nation. That is what the alternative force for action means. Everybody is invited to join us. So far as you have the know-how, so far as you are committed to be selfless in your approach and help build this country, AFA invites you to join us.
Right. Sam, as a business person yourself, when electors decide to vote for you, what will be your plan for the business community with regarding tax exemptions, a comfortable business environment? What are your plans for the business community?
Thank you. I mean, if you know, I was the acting chairman for the ICC, that's the International Chamber of Commerce Ghana, and also the vice president for a while before I decided to contest this. I clearly understand the challenges of our businesses in this country, especially the SMEs that would need to grow the economy. If you live in a country where 85 to 90% of the businesses are controlled and run by government, you don't expect growth. These are some of the critical things that we are saying, that the private sector should be the engine of growth. Sam Ankrah and the Alpha movement is going to create an enabling environment, get government to cut the bureaucratic systems and delays and time wasting, streamline policies and systems so that private sector can drive the economy. Government will take its hands from businesses that they are not supposed to do. First of all, there's no any business in the world, refinery in the world that run at a loss. We have here in Ghana a refinery that sits in there idle, where we go to capital markets to borrow money from the capital markets and come and pay salaries of workers. These are some of the things that is costing our country to be where we are. Some Ankrah Alpha movement is saying, government, lay your hands off business, do what you does best, administer, create systems, take away bureaucratic systems, create enabling environment, and let the private sector drive the economy. We're going to offload most of the government's SOEs that are sitting idle as part of our business plan. So it's business, 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 business. Private sector is going to drive this economy. So if you're in the private sector, if you're in business, if you're a one-man show, enterprise, whatever it is, good news ahead of you. Give Alpha Movement, Sub Ankrah the chance, and we're happy to help build the country with you.
Okay, if I understand you, you don't believe in a private-public partnership. You'd rather have the country privatized.
I believe in private, of course. I mean, the private sector needs government support them to be able to cut across some businesses.
Okay.
So PPP is essentially important. But the idea that government goes and borrow money at their balance sheet to come and conduct business and employ politicians who have know nothing about business to run it down would not continue. The status quo is no more an option.
Okay. We understand some election observers are asking candidates to declare their sources of income.
Very important.
What is yours?
Very, very important. I mean, again, the idea of non-disclosures and where anybody can become somebody in Ghana and people don't even ask questions. What worries me. I come from a very compliance background. I have worked in very stringent environment as an investment banker, financial advisor over the years. I understand what it takes to build wealth. And I also believe that transparency and accountability is a way forward for any economy to grow. So if anybody is asking those questions, it's in a step direction. I started as an investment banker, raising money for states, governments, and big corporations across the world. And you get commissions from what you do. So I've made my money over the years by just doing that.
By just being a businessman?
No, well, exactly. Being a businessman, raising capital. You know, when you raise money for people, if you want me to break it down, you get paid commissions. So if I come to you and say, Tutuwaa says, hey, Sam, I want to do a 100 million farming project in some way in Afram Plains. Can you raise capital for me? Okay, I'll take 3% when I raise the money.
Okay.
These are how I've built my wealth over the years. Nothing special, nothing.
Over 2 decades. That's
Yeah, more than 2 decades now.
okay.
Yeah.
I see.
By the way, I also had an oil company. I set up what they call an oil company in Ghana, BDC. I also set up an investment bank, Company Capital. So basically, I'm a businessman. I create opportunities, and these are all verifiable businesses that I've conducted across the length and breadth of country. I built a first tier 4 data center in the sub-region in Ghana. Again, I'm not the kind of person that like to talk about things I do, but for the purpose of politics and the people who want to know Sam Ankrah, I need to say it. The first tier 4 data center in the sub-region. With all the digital system we are talking about, with all the digital economy that our vice president is promoting, without this data center, it means nothing. We built it, about 150 million worth of facility, first of its kind in the sub-region in Ghana. And